So in early 2025, Kiesel Guitars announced a brand new redesign update for two very popular models, those of which being the Zeus and Osiris. When they announced the O2 and Z2, I was really impressed, but I knew right away I had made a big mistake. Some of you may have seen a video I had done a while back talking about this guitar, the original Osiris I had spec'd out back in fall of 2023. Really fantastic build, lots of great exotic woods. If you want a little bit more information about that, a little relevant backstory, I'll be sure to put a card right up here if you want to check those out and get up to speed. Now let's take a minute to first establish just the basic differences between the original Osiris and Zeus versus the new Z2 and O2 models. So right off the bat, I'll give you guys a couple examples. So you can see they've redesigned the body shape of the O2. It's basically the same like carryover for how they shaped the A2 compared to like the previous Aries. Take a close look at these pictures, you'll see what I'm talking about. Basically, you just look at like that lower half of the body. They've really kind of scaled that down. They've made it more of like an asymmetrical shape. So a little bit more compact, a little smaller feeling, perhaps a little lighter as well. They've also updated that carve on the back. They've added an additional bevel, like right down here, which as you can see, the original Osiris did not have. They also added the Axis jack, which is pretty cool as well. Nothing too major. I think overall most people would be probably fairly well satisfied with these redesigns. Just kind of look at it as like a facelift. Again, when I saw this, I was impressed. I'm always excited to see like future developments and upgrades and whatnot. But for me as a very visual person, the thing I don't care for is the lack of symmetry. And one thing I really like about the original Osiris is when you flip it over this way, you can see just the way this is shaped down here. You just have a nice, like, consistent sort of like that sort of wide oval, like at the base of the body. And again, with like the A2, the O2, and the Z2, I don't know. For me, it almost looks like a little too like shrunken down. It's just visually not that appealing. Totally my personal taste. This is not me complaining. I'm not saying you're right or wrong or it's good or bad. Love Kiesel Guitars. They make some really cool stuff. But for me, like I knew when I saw that new body shape, I was like, oh no, like I definitely should not have sold this Osiris. The other thing I'll mention with this guitar in particular is when I spec'd this guitar out, I went absolutely all out. I did not spare any expense on this build. This is a 7A Master Grade Ziricote top, handpicked by Jeff Kiesel himself. And I really feel that although it was a pretty hefty upcharge, I was very pleased and still am quite impressed with this fine selection of wood. Ziricote is a fairly uncommon wood, definitely more on the high-end boutique exotic end of the spectrum for guitar top woods. A lot of times you'll get some different like lighter sapwoods kind of running through different sections. I was actually fortunate enough to get this one. I had requested a piece without sapwood, just kind of with the look I was going for. So I really like the consistency, again, with this particular top. I like that you have just like this nice, like vertical grain. There's like a lot of sort of rich, like flowing chocolatey waves in there, a lot of spider webbing as far as that grain pattern. So again, like I said, I knew right away, like just visual appeal of just how the body shape is on the original Osiris. I was like, man, like, I'm really starting to miss that guitar. I'm missing that top. The other thing I will mention as well is this particular neckwood option. Kiesel Guitars no longer offers the 3-piece walnut bloodwood as a neck choice. Now, I suppose you technically could probably still get it if you ordered it like as a custom neck, but if I'm not mistaken, their custom neck fee is like a base price of like $400 something. Then you have to add on the additional price of like whatever that neck normally is. So I would anticipate you're probably going to spend between like $500, $700 looking at doing like a custom neck. Always been a huge fan of that walnut bloodwood. Just such a cool combination. Just adds like just that natural layer of color to a build. You can see this one if you look at the back. You can sign by Jeff. It's hard to read it, but it says 24 because this guitar was built in 2024. Just another like cool little nerdy detail, just ties everything together. So overall moral of the story, the point I'm trying to make here is sometimes as guitar enthusiasts, we just don't always learn to appreciate things until they're gone. And that was exactly the case with this particular instrument, going from the body shape, the top, the neck, just all those like little small details. Sometimes we just don't always realize what we have until sometimes we let things get away from us. Now, onto the topic of price difference between the original Osiris that I had spec'd out in years past. To get the same specs on the current model with the O2, I'm going to go ahead and pop up the builder. This is going to reflect their current pricing. Bear in mind, prices go up over time. There's always a chance things can change. There are various promos and sales throughout the year, so just keep in mind it's not going to be exactly the same by the time you go back and watch this breakdown. So if we were to get an O2, we'd hop on the builder. We're going to slide on down to the O2 body shape. From there, we're going to go ahead and select the multi-scale option. Bodywood's going to be a black Limba. Since the Zero-Cote top wood is not on the builder, I'm just going to go ahead and throw something on here as a placeholder, and we'll make sure to recalculate at the very end. Top coat's going to be raw tone, chambered body. Again, we no longer have that walnut bloodwood neck, but just for the sake of comparison, I'm going to select the walnut purple heart since that's the closest. Thinner neck profile, ebony, less color variation, side dots only, tone control, black pole pieces. Back to our logo, got the drop shadow, white on black. All right, so our grand total before we factor in the upgraded top at the current time, it's showing $3,169. This is based on a $700 top with their standard Buckeye burl. For the Zero-Cote top I had purchased at the time, the master grade was $1,000 for a top. So again, that could very well cost you more at the present time or at some point in the future. So our grand total would be $3,469 before any applicable tax or shipping. So if we go back and take a look at what I paid for back in fall of 2023, it's obviously a pretty staggering difference in price. So I ended up trading this guitar at the time for some other related guitar gear. I hit up my buddy who I had actually traded it with, and we worked out a pretty awesome deal. He allowed me to purchase the guitar back from him. So I was really glad to be able to reunite with the Zero-Cote Osiris. I've been very, very happy with this guitar. Like I said in the past, there were a couple things about it where I felt like it slightly missed the mark as far as what my intended purpose was when I came to actually speccing out this headless model. Two main things that were, I guess you could say, like personal gripes. The guitar is a little bit on the heavier side within the realm of headless guitars. Sometimes it's easy to make the incorrect assumption that just because you order like a headless guitar that it's automatically going to be lighter. That's not always going to be the case. You can still end up with a fairly hefty headless guitar just depending on what type of woods you pick out. This guitar right here sits right around 7 pounds. This is a full-size headstock guitar from Schecter. This guitar is only about 6.5 pounds. The biggest difference is this is a lightweight swamp ash body with a Buckeye burl top. This guitar is a black Limba body with a Zero-Cote top. So just when you get into some of those crazy like exotic woods, they do add a lot of weight. So again, this is a headless bolt-on chamber guitar that is in fact heavier than this full-size headstock guitar. Now, I'm no stranger to multi-scales, but in this particular instance, I've actually found that I think in some small way that this multi-scale actually does make it a little bit more accessible to get to the fine tuners. The way these are offset on the multi-scale, in my opinion, actually makes it a little bit easier to get a grip on the fine tuners. Having owned like a standard scale like Zeus, Osiris in the past, I actually felt like it was just a little bit more effort to kind of get in there around the fine tuners. So it's just one of those like really small, like geeky details, which is what we like to talk about on this channel. So if you find that information useful, if you want to talk gear, hit that subscribe button, guys. I appreciate your support. So overall, I'm very pleased. I'm great to have this Osiris back in my possession. Sometimes we just have to live and learn, right? We all have our buying and selling regrets. Hey, this is an open space where we can speak our minds and talk things through. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Is there ever a guitar that you bought, you sold, the one that got away? I would love to hear your personal story, so please share that down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Appreciate you guys checking out the Osiris today. Glad to have this one in the collection. It is here, in fact, to stay. Make sure to hit the video with a thumbs up. Really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.